We start this hour with some breaking news. I can reveal that French police have just discovered a huge cache of weapons in a migrant camp near Calais. It's this camp, you might recognise it. You are a human trafficker, aren't you?
Are there?
Yes. Why are you bringing people illegally to Britain? Why are you illegally bringing people into Britain? Do you feel any kind of conscience about that at all? Do you feel bad about that at all? Or not? No? You don't? No? I think we can catch up with him, probably. Hello, come back. Stacked it. Anyway, police found more than a dozen firearms today, and what they are also describing as, and I'm quoting French police here, weapons of war. So it turns out that people had buried guns there. The cops got a tip-off, and 250 French police officers went in today and got them. But I know what you're all thinking. Surely the French have now cleared this camp. Nope. I'll tell you what, have they put a fence around it to stop anyone coming or going? No. But don't worry, because if any of these militants decide to come to Britain, this Labour government will sort them out. This week, the government celebrated sending a handful of illegal migrants back to France. Oh, there they go. Any idea how many people we've sent back to France? Anyone? 26. 26. You all read the auto cue. Well done. OK. You know, note to self, don't put it there. Anyway, and any idea, I see I haven't skipped on here, any idea how many people arrived on Wednesday alone? 1,000. Somebody watches. Yes, so there we go. 1,000 people arrived on Wednesday alone. Now, I just want to bring your attention to what's happened on the continent this week. In Belgium, several jihadis were arrested allegedly for plotting to slaughter the Prime Minister and others. In Germany, 3 suspected members of Hamas were arrested allegedly for plotting a huge marauding terror attack. And as we all know, of course, we have just had a terror attack at a synagogue in Manchester here, where the attacker pledged allegiance to the Islamic State. Look, we are living in pretty scary times. I think this weapons haul found in northern France should probably serve as yet another warning to us all. Let's get the views of my panel and the audience as well. But I'll start with you, Russell, on the end there. So, you know, there we go. Huge numbers of weapons found in that camp there in Calais.
Yeah, so why do we think they're there? In Calais, what's that, 20 miles away from the British coast? They're on their way here, aren't they? So it's not just migrants, but potentially migrants, fighting-age males, and their weapons. But yet still, I guess as Patrick has just hinted, nothing will be done. I mean, not just in Calais in terms of those camps, but in terms of our authorities, whether it be our Home Office, our Border Force, our police, our politicians, doing anything about this. Have we seen Keir Starmer today standing up and saying, OK, guys, I think I get it. You know, 12 weapons of war uncovered 20 miles away from the British coastline, probably about to be ferried over in dinghies, many of which land here unchecked, by the way. But still, our politicians shrug their shoulders. It's fine, because all refugees are welcome. And, of course, they are all doctors, engineers and scientists. Seriously, I mean, surely, I mean, if only we as a nation could have a vote of no confidence in our government right now, seriously. I mean, the government's number one role is to protect their citizens. That's it. It's 101 politics, 101 government. That is what they are here to do. Now we find out there's a load of Kalashnikovs on their way over here, no doubt. I mean, otherwise, I mean, Michael's probably going to disagree with this.
He's actually itching to get involved.
They're there by accident, perhaps. Maybe we should suppress this story because it's not fair on those migrants in Calais, poor things.
Well, go on.
I mean, that cache of weapons, they're not in Toulouse.
Well, so what I would imagine, so obviously there's lots of gangs involved in smuggling people. Now, gangs, when they have guns, it's normally to kill other people in the gangs. So I imagine this is gang warfare in Calais. Now, when people cross the channel. Now, I don't think anyone thinks this is a good situation, the chaos on the border. When people cross the channel, generally they get intervened by the UK authorities. You're not going to get intervened by the UK authorities with a Kalashnikov on a dinghy. So I would suggest that this is probably a gang in Calais fighting another gang in Calais.
That's all right.
No, it's not all right, but I just think what you're saying is probably misinformation.
You don't think there's any chance at all of an AK-47 coming over, hidden under a seat on a dinghy that might actually end up in Dover? You don't think there's any chance of that whatsoever?
There's some chance, but you seem to suggest it was inevitable.
Too much chance, I would suggest.
All right. Well, let's go to the gentleman in the audience, and we'll bring our other two panellists in. Sir, what would you like to say about this?
I wanted to echo
some of those points. So there are 3 things that you really don't want smuggled into your country. People, we're not doing a great job of that because it's 50,000 a year. Drugs is an ongoing issue. And the only one missing is guns, ironically. And yet here we are. I do feel that there was some type of punishment because the immigration, legal and illegal, spiked directly after Brexit, which certainly suggests to me that the EU could have done more and then all of a sudden just let the floodgates open, and it was almost somewhat a punishment, okay? I do feel that. It's just my feeling because it happened directly after. It was almost like, okay, now you're going to get this, you're going to regret this, some type of punishment. The only thing missing is guns. So my question, and I suppose my suggestion, is that this is going to raise its head at some point, and then it will be somewhat too late. I keep hearing the term fighting age men. I don't like the term, of course, for obvious reasons, because I'm a fighting age man as well, and I'm on this side of the fence. So I don't like the term. How many women and
children do you see coming over?
No, you are correct. I'm not challenging it. I'm just like saying I don't like the term because I'm a fighting age man, and if I hear fighting age men are coming, I'm a fighting age man. I know what that means.
You know, there's more here now than where they outnumber the British
fully aware,
Army.
and I'm not challenging.
I mean, that's just ridiculous. Do you really think there's going to be a civil war and an uprising by people who have got?
I think we're getting there, Michael.
Yeah. What's the evidence that we get? So there are all sorts of.
They just found 12 weapons 20 miles away.
That's not so there can be some standing militia who can uprise against the British Army.
Let's just deal with a couple of
nonsense.
Let's just deal with. Fair enough, but I'll bring Alison on this. But there are a couple of things that have happened recently, which is that we did have I revealed it last night. Actually, we believe anyway, as a UK-trained former member of the Afghan National Army, who is running one of these human trafficking operations there at the moment, and we have had card-carrying members of terror groups who have come over in the past, and so there is an issue there. But Alice, what's your take on this weapons cache and the lack of deportations, I suppose?
Yeah, I have 2 points to make. The first, in response to your question as well, is that the whole of Europe is suffering here, and I agree that the EU is absolutely not helping because, of course, they don't represent the interests of the European peoples, of the people in Italy and Sweden, whatever. The second point is that I think we have got to the stage where I think this is a national emergency which deserves emergency legislation being passed. Because on the subject... Thank you. Yes. Because on the subject of deportations, the issue is that when these claims are brought which are attempting to frustrate deportations, they're usually under Article 8 of the ECHR, the European Convention of Human Rights. And that provision has 2 clauses. The first says, obviously, you can't interfere with privacy, family life, whatever. The second is unless that it is in the national interest. The issue is that is never argued strong enough. By now, it is a national crisis. It is 100% in the national interest that deportations take place. I mean, this has got far enough. And I think that regardless of the weapons, which is obviously highly worrying, we've already seen a civil unrest in our country from people rising up on extreme sides of this. I don't want to see my beloved nation torn apart by this. And I think that we are teetering towards that, and that's so distressing.
Yeah. The other thing, by the way, with these weapons is that the same people who are, of course, doing the boat crossings are also very often trying to help people get in the back of lorries, and that is something that goes massively underreported. And the reason it goes underreported is because, unlike the boats, where a lot of them are intercepted, with lorries, it's just a complete lottery. You might get through, you might not, which makes it a lot easier to, hypothetically speaking, smuggle some of these guns and these weapons of war, as the French called them, across. But Christo, your views on this?
When you mentioned that you had an exclusive of a surprise discovery at a migrant camp, I did wonder whether we'd found some women and children actually in there, because, ladies and gentlemen, it would have been nice to see them. Well, we got there in the end, thank you. I think this is a huge security risk. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that they have all of these, guns. I mean, it just gets worse and worse every time we discuss it, and you make a really valid point that, your point, Michael, about the fact that it's probably quite difficult to smuggle a Kalashnikov up your jumper on a dinghy. Fair point, but those are the people that get met at the border and brought over by Border Force. There will be potentially thousands that don't get met, that end up in this country, that are completely undocumented. And how many guns have they got up their jumper? So, and of course we have seen as well. We have. Why are you laughing?
I think the idea that so most of them do get intercepted, right? So if you're...
How do you know that?
Well, because they monitor
No,
it.
they don't get intercepted. They feign distress at the RNLI and whoever.
But what I mean is very few, because this is all monitored.
No, I'm not talking about on boats. I'm talking about in lorries.
In lorries.
Other ways on train. There are many other ways that they can smuggle themselves in.
I still think that if you're trying to smuggle yourself in, like just taking a gun is a bit of an unnecessary risk.
One of the things
some might think that actually, if you're trying to get into a country undocumented, maybe having a gun would be quite useful.
Well,
also, they're
I mean, it's
taking
just
such
an
a
idea,
risk
but-
in the first place. I mean, they're literally coming over here illegally, taking a really
I
perilous
just think
journey.
we have very few examples. So lots and lots of asylum seekers get apprehended on the border, and I haven't seen any evidence of any of them having a gun.
How would you know about those that don't?
Would just be surprising if the ones that don't happen to have guns.
Well, it's surprising to hear about 12 weapons of war found in a
I
country.
don't think it is that surprising, given you've
You're
got...
going to hear about the successful ones. They're not going to declare it as they walk up the beach at Folkestone.
Let's go to YouGov, do a survey.
One of the other issues is that obviously there's people that are part of a criminal network. So doing some of the digging that I was doing, it emerged that a lot of the people who are responsible for human trafficking already live in Britain. So they are asylum seekers themselves or just legal immigrants in some cases who've come here and lived in Britain. And they are also some of the ones who are sorting out a lot of the illegal working, etc. So the concern, I think, would be that if they've got the capacity to get guns, which are still illegal in France and right across Europe for the most part, over there to Calais, there is the capacity for people to come to Britain even without the guns and find another way of bringing them in. Would be my fear.
Well, given our strict gun laws, I mean, how otherwise do guns get on our streets? I mean, they are on our streets. We know that across most big cities across Britain. There are guns, so they're clearly getting through. So I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that some of the 12 guns that we've just cited might end up...
Can I ask you a question about the 26 people that we've returned to France? Mm-hmm. Are you against... So where are you with that? What's the Navarro media line on this? Are you against Shabana Mahmood getting rid of anyone to France? Because I'm quite keen. Does the left think she's extreme now?
Well, the left will have all sorts of different positions. I've got no problem with the return
You
to
are the
France
left now.
Right. So you've got no problem with it?
No, so, I mean, ideally what I would do, I think the whole asylum system is a bit of a mess, really, because what you say is Europe pays the Libyan dictatorship loads of money to try and round up as many migrants as possible so they don't cross the water. So we make it as difficult as possible to get here, but once you get here, you probably can stay. And that, to me, seems like a crazy system. When you say, why is it only men? Well, the reason it's only men is because it's really goddamn difficult to get there, right? So what I would do is I'd have safe routes in location, so safe routes near Afghanistan, safe routes near Syria, and let in a set number of
airports. Called airports. You just jump on a plane. If you want to,
you can't get a visa if you're from. So the whole point is you can't get a visa if you're from these countries. And if we want to have some responsibility as a nation state and give asylum to some people who really need it,
why do they throw their ID over the side?
Well, so you're constantly changing the subject, right?
No, it's exactly the same subject.
So if you have, we've had safe routes as a country before. We had safe routes when it came to Syria. We relocated about 20,000 people, and we had safe routes when it came to Ukraine. So if you have safe routes, people will use those safe routes. So I think you get some people to come by those safe routes, and then you're very strict on people who who haven't applied to those.
Can I just say one more quick thing, picking up on this gentleman's point? You're absolutely right. After Brexit, the numbers went through the roof, but they absolutely pale into insignificance for the number of legal people that were allowed in under the Boris wave. And the fact that we're going to be talking to that useless blancmange coming up after this show, I would be very, very interested to know whether Ben actually asks him about that. I hope so. The only thing I'm happy about is that it's a sit-down chat with Boris because he doesn't look capable of standing.
Good grief. Well, there we go.
Best time I've ever had to describe Boris.
The absolute nonsense. The fact that so many came under Boris, and it was directly against what anyone voted for.
100%.
Just quickly, get a feel for the room. This idea that 26 people have been sent back now to France, do we think it's a deterrent? No. It's disgraceful. Disgraceful. You think it's disgraceful? Do you want to make a point on that, or would you like to remain slightly more anonymous? Yeah, fine, because you've not been on camera yet, so there you go. Right, disgraceful on the front row. Just very quickly, Alice, do you think this returns agreement with France that we've seen 26 people this week, 1,000 came in on Wednesday alone, going to make a blind bit of difference?
Absolute joke, but it's so disrespectful to our nation.
Well, go on, why?
The one in, one out scheme. All these kind of little gimmicks that the government is throwing at us to try to seem like they're doing something about it when they're really not. I think that's so unforgivable. Just have a spine and tell us the truth, which is that we are tied to legislation in which it is very hard to try to send people back. Change it for the good of our nation.
All right.